Welcome, my name is Tishar and this is StarMade. And in today's episode I want to look at the last couple of submissions that were done in the last week, basically, since I recorded the last episode for the build initiative. So there are 5 new ships that we can take a look at and see what have been submitted this time. We'll start with this ship here on the right. This is the Ladybug, and this is one of mine. Yeah, I did a second submission for this build initiative. I wanted to build a very small ship, so and I had this idea to use a ring ship design, basically because I noticed some ships that used the ring element within the ship design, for example, like the dust hopper over there. And I wanted to make use of that as a design element for the ship itself. So it's not a very big ship, so it doesn't have a whole lot of interior, but we have the main ship part over here on the left, and then on the right over here we've got these 3 engine pods that are basically connected to this main ring that connects everything together. And yeah, it gives a nice sci-fi feel. Not really a practical ship, unless this ring is used for something like a starting gate for a race or something like that. But yeah, it is a very unique type of layout that I've got going. But like I said, not a lot of interior going on this ship, but I do have some interior. Not a lot, but a small bit. So let's start out of the airlock again, like we did last episode with the other ships. And here we are outside the ship. So we've got one door that's on this side of the ship that we can use to enter the ship. And then we are in what is basically a manual airlock. Yeah, because there's no buttons or logic in here to cycle this airlock, so you have to do it by hand. We've got 2 ways to go, to the left and to the right. To the right over here I just have a small bathroom with some medical supplies, and that's about it. And on this side I've got my cockpit, and this cockpit is outfitted with some logic, because I wouldn't be me if I didn't add logic to my ships. So we've got a couple of options to do here. We've got, of course, here a light button, so we can turn off the light in the cabin over here. But on this side we've got some storage, and below that we have this button that can fold out a bed, so we do have a place for the pilot to sleep. Then we can store it back into the wall, and then we have all the space to move around in here. Then we have this button over here on the console next to the core. This is basically to move the chair, as you can see here. So we can now move it 1 block to the back, so we can sit in it and then move it back to be in front of the console. And as you noticed here, it will be blocking the bed itself, so if you press this button now, it doesn't move out of the wall. So this is basically a safety feature. It needs to be put in the position like that, and then you can use the bed again. And the same is the other way around, as the bed is extended and you can't flip the switch for the chair. Also got this button on the side over here. This is for the effect lights, because I did add some light effects to the ship itself. So if we turn this on, then I'll have to hop into the core so you can see it. And as you can see here, now we have a glowing inner ring that I did with the force fields like this. And we've got these blinker lights at the top and at the bottom of the ring itself, so we got some light effects going on. And of course you can turn them off, and then it's back to the regular state the ship was in before. As for systems go, let me show you. There's not a whole lot going on, but we've got some thrust paths going on, and a blinking light button that turns on and off the effects. Same as the button in the cockpit itself. The ship reactor is not all that special either. Got some speed-based chambers, and then one base reactor enhancer going on. that should give you a nice 5:1 thrust to mass ratio for this small ship. So it's like I said, small but quite capable of being in a race, and it's got a nice top speed going on. So yeah, my second submission. Let's switch to the other ships I've got here in line. The next ship is the JRS Combin Racer. Corbin Racer. Yeah, I said it wrong the first time. As far as I understand it from the description, this is a rebuild, or at least a redesign of a shuttle, or at least a passenger ship that was outfitted for racing purposes. That's the backstory, at least. It's got some very nice line designs going on. You've got this front-facing cockpit section over here with all types of girders protecting the main hull over here, and we do have a lot of windows that we can get a glimpse of the inside of the ship already. So there's quite a lot going on here. Quite like that. Some nifty little details like this camera and other scanners on one side of the ship. So it has a bit of asymmetry going on. And then here at the back we've got these nice wingy bits with the additional engines attached. And there's quite a lot of detail going on in the back of the engines, as you can see here. Quite a nice use of the gate blocks, or the girder blocks. And as you can see here, there's a lot more detail going on in the main engine as well. So it's got quite a bit of depth within the engine design. You can also see that in some of the places you can already see some of the blocks that were used for systems. It's quite a nice use of the integrating of system blocks within the hull design, so you can at least see what some part of the ship do. And of course it gives a bit of detail and color to the ship design itself. Yeah, this is a nice combination of the red and the grey color as well. So you got some red accent elements to give some of the areas a bit of pop for this design. So it's quite nicely done. And as you can see, we do have some interior, so let's hope to that and see what's going on inside this ship. It took me a while to actually find the entrance to this ship, but there is a door all the way at the back over here. As you can see here, this is a black door. So if we go in here, then we have this nice little airlock over here. Then we open the inner door and now we are inside the main compartment of the ship. So basically this is one big space with not a lot of additional rooms, some side rooms, but not a lot. We've got the core in the back over here with some access to all the different components of the ship. So we've got this engineering section over here. Then if you go to the side, we have the airlock on this side. And then in the middle of the ship we start entering basically the living quarters, I think you would call them. So we've got this nice table and chair design. Quite like this, by the way. Might have to borrow that design. And on this side you've got this nice little bedroom with 2 beds. So it's space enough for 2 people, I think. And then on this side you've got a little bathroom. And I think these are basically maintenance areas for what I'm assuming is the landing gear. And then we enter the front section of the ship. This is of course the cockpit area. It's the pilot and the co-pilot's seats and a nice view to the front of the ship. And of course all the different controls that you need. We've got this button over here, and I think this one is the button for what I believe is the landing gear itself. Let me check. Not sure exactly. Or perhaps something else. Let's enter the core and check. I don't think there's any other level of interior here, but let me check real quick. I don't think there is. No, that's the only level. Yeah, it is the landing gear. So the landing gear is basically this section going down. And there should be a section in the front as well for landing gear. but I don't see it. Let's go into the interface because there is a no data button over here, so I would suggest naming this at least. Yeah, there you go. So now we have these feet on the front section as well down. So this this vessel is capable of landing. At least that's more than my ships can do. They're not made for landing, only for space. But yeah, quite a nice sleek design, especially for a shuttle rebuild, basically, or what you want to call it, that has been repurposed for Belgic racing. Very nicely done. The third ship on our list is the Atalanta racing yacht, and it's very, very red, but yeah, fits the criteria for the racing challenge. And it's got a lot of details on the outside that really fit the racing team. Of course, what is used, for example, these black and white patterns reminds us of the finish line of a racing truck. So it's a nice detail to be added. And this hood ornament, basically an air intake, doesn't really have air to be intaken, but it's a nice detail that reminds of us of fast cars. I've got this nice thin fuselage with some fins at the back of the end of the fuselage, so it gives the yeah, appreciation of speed basically. And these big engines to the side, very classic design basically. But I did notice we have these fins to the side. At first I thought they would be movable, but this is actually part of the main hull, so it's not a docked entity or anything like that. Just with some, I don't think there are additional engines, some sort of heat distribution or something, I think. But I'm not exactly sure what they are used for. But they do add to the basically the arrow shape of the ship itself. But I don't think they're engines because it's a bit too flimsy for that. Got some depth in the engines themselves, adding some blue. So basically blue means that the fire is even hotter. At least that's what I think they are using it for. And at the bottom we do have some additional details like this, some piping going on, and of course the racing stripes. It's always something you need. But quite a nice overall design, very aerodynamic if you look at it like that. So let's check out some of the inside as this ship has. And again, I was looking for the entrance to this ship, and I finally found it to be over here. There is a door over here to get into the cockpit. But it's a bit weird because there's a hole down here, and this leads to this. Basically an access path to the systems, I think, but it's a bit weird to make the door like this. At least plug this off if you don't need it, because it's on both sides. This leads basically to a entrance to the cockpit over here, and then you can basically take a seat over here as the pilot. So it's a single seater, and then you can pilot the ship. There is a nice design for a ladder over here. It doesn't really work, of course, but it is a ladder design that takes you to the deck below. Very small deck. You've got some living quarters over here with a bed over here, 2 beds, actually a couch and a kitchen area, so it is very livable. And this leads to the back to a sort of engine core room ID with some information about the ship itself. I do think that the core itself is a bit awkwardly placed, so yeah, either connected with something, some pipes or so, or something like to the ceiling. But this is just free floating. It's not really all that logical. Or perhaps just move it and place it over here. We've got some animation going on with these force fields. So basically the engine output, I think, or at least the core output for the engines. So yeah, very basic interior. But could use some detailing, additional detailing. But yeah, for the space it has, it does the job at least. But yeah, this part is still weird. The next ship is the Lightmare. It's a very speedy looking ship as well. very pointy bits at the front, and it's very flat. As you can see here, it has a very flat cross section if you look at it from the side, but very nicely shaped overall. Got some access to the bridge over here by the looks of it. You can look inside, so I already see buttons to press. We'll see later on what those do. And we've got some nice detailing on the wings going on, and this here is something that can move. We will test it out later. And of course we already have the door over here, so now we know where we need to go. The only thing I have to remark about the hull itself that I like a bit less is greebling like this. This is very random greebling that doesn't really convey a sense of purpose. If you would take this part, I would just concentrate on adding more antennas, things like that, to convey some sort of area that is used for communication or some other sensor equipment that is installed here. Would make a bit more sense. It's only on here and on the side that I notice something like that being used. For example, this is a bit better with piping and some sort of air system. But overall, the rest of the hull details are very well done. Quite nicely spaced out, not too cluttered, and do make a bit of sense in where they are placed. I do believe you could have done a bit more with these frontal parts of the ship itself, leaving a bit over here. But overall, the overall shape does convey a very nice profile for this ship. So I quite like that. And it does look that it does have enough space on the inside to have some sort of interior going on. Also some nice detailing on the engine over here, some additional piping. And we've got the nice crystals in the back for the engine itself. Always nice to have, especially like details like this. A bit of lighting in this texture to add some additional detail on the engine block itself. So that works quite nicely. So let's check out the inside of the ship as well. Now we know where we need to go, so let's hop to it. Here we are, the outside of the ship with the door over here, and I believe this is the button for the airlock. Yeah, it is. So we can grab some gravity over here and then press this button to flip it to the inside. So nice green and red lighting to show what is being done. Then we've got the cockpit area over here with some consoles and some additional info on the ship itself, and of course buttons to press. So we've got the exterior lights that we can turn on and off. We'll check that in the build mode later on. The engine lights that can be turned on and off, and it looks like they're linked to the yeah, I thought it was linked to this one. No, it's not. Just looked like it. And the wing status. So it's now retracted. Like I said, it's the part I pointed out. It could be moved. Downstairs we've got some area for living. So there's space for 2 people by the looks of it. A nice desk with Windows 8.3.4. Okay, yeah. Could be very far in the future. And we've got some medical equipment below the stairs, just in case. This is the light for the this is the light for the cabin itself. So not a whole lot of space, but enough at least for 2 pilots to live comfortably, I think, during delays. So let's hop into build mode and check out these buttons, what they do. The engine lights are now on, exterior lights are now on, so yeah, it's probably the lights in the engines themselves. And we've got, of course, the exterior lights like this and at the front that are on. So if we turn them off, they're probably off. Yeah, they're all off. So these are off, and then the engine lights here are off as well. Okay, so that's basically adding the light effects on the ship on or off. That's always nice. Let's check out the wing status. So let's turn that on. Yeah, here we go. So now we have some additional wingspan going on for the ship. in space. Okay, it always looks nice, but yeah, there's no purpose whatsoever. But that's not really the purpose of them, of course. It's just to make the ship look cool and have them give them some animation. It's always nice to do. And I think the rest of the interior of the ship is probably systems. This part, yeah, this is mostly systems by the looks of it. Yeah, it is. Oh, even some some cargo capacity. Not a lot, but some. Let's check out what type of systems this has. Ship reactor. It's just a speed enhancement tree by the looks of it, but a bit more for the blast strength and speed, so that's always nice. Yeah, we've got tractor beam even. Ah, okay. Where does that come from? Can't see that. Ah, the front. Aha! Okay, so basically the wing parts at the front are the tractor beam system, so we can stop the other contestant of the race and then hopefully pass them. We've got always the buttons for the exterior lights, etc. We already tested, and of course for the weenie bits, like this, so we can retract them. Nice! Very nicely put together ship. And last but not least, this is the Slink Racer. And this is a very small ship, just like the last two ships we did last week. But this is probably the most realistic spaceship of them all, because this is basically a cargo container with some engine pods on each of the corners to give it directional thrust. So yeah, very simple, but quite funny to see. We've got this nice detailing going on at the front, some communication arrays and the Bobby AI by the looks of it. And at the back we've got some additional piping and a teleporter. Yeah, it's not a functional teleporter, so it's probably a canister of some sort that it needs for propulsion. But yeah, on the rest of the interior, there's nothing much I can say. It's just like I said, a big cargo container. But we do have a entrance at the top over here to the interior of the ship. So here we are at the entrance. We just open this door. We also have this button over here to open it, but yeah, I think the result is the same. We enter directly into the cockpit area. There is not a lot of interior going on here, but just enough to make this workable, I think. I don't see a gravity module, so yeah, no gravity for us. And it's basically just a control console over here with some of the computers that are being used in the systems. And then behind this nice cockpit chair, we've got a simple bed. This connects to basically more consoles, some medical supplies, and some storage. But that's about it. Not a lot of interior. And we can press this button to close the door again. So let's hop into the core and see what kind of systems this thing has. Let's see. Ship reactor. Ooh, quite a lot of things, by the way. Some speed enhancements, some reactor enhancements, and a scanner. So the scanner is a level 2-1, so that's quite a strong scanner for the lineup we've got going. But I did notice some of the other computers that were being used for systems, so let's check that out. Tractor beam and an astrotech. So basically this is also a ship with a tractor beam. Let's see where it comes from. To the side. Why? To stop people that pass you on the right side or something? And then the astrotech over here. I think you might have to rebind where the beams are going to exit the ship. It would be really nice to have it exit one of the equipment things here. So for example, we can use this one for the tractor beam, and then I don't know, the Bobby Eye for the astrotech beam or something like that. If that would work, because It's a bit difficult to aim now if you only shoot it to the side or from a random point. But yeah, quite a nice little ship. Very simple, but quite nicely executed. And like I said, probably the most realistic spaceship there is. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. These were the submissions that I scrounged up for the last week. So we'll keep going to do this until all the submissions are done. The build initiative is closed. And then it's a matter of waiting what the judges will say about these ships. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.